Well, welcome to the podcast. And yes, we go all around the world. And I've sort of gone a little bit of a detour. I'm interviewing what we call a success coach. He's from London, but he's not living in London. He's living in Cape Town. Welcome to the show, Tim Hayes. How are you, mate?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm great. Excited to talk and give some love.
Matey, how did a Londoner, before we get into where you grew up, end up in Cape Town?
Well, that goes back to 2005. I'd gone into the corporate world in 2000. I got into a career I wasn't particularly interested in. And when I was 21, all I wanted to do was make loads of money and take loads of cocaine.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. But unfortunately, the wheels came off. So I ended up going into rehab in 2005.
Wow.
And that's what moved me over into Cape Town. I came out into treatment here. So that's my connection with here this time around. Yeah.
We've had a lot of UK guests on the show. What part of London are you from?
So I was born in Watford, just outside London.
Yeah.
And grew up in Hertfordshire and then moved into northwest London, West Hampstead. So I own a property there, which is also one of the reasons why I live in Cape Town, right? Because I can rent out my property in London, my 2-bedroom garden flat in London, and for the same price, I get to live in a 5-bedroom house with a swimming pool and 100 bonsai trees in Cape Town. So that's another reason why I live here.
So what led up to you becoming addicted to coke and the good life in London? Was that just the pressure of your job? Was it too much money, too young, or you just followed what everyone else was doing?
Oh, I think for me, it runs in my family. My dad, he got sober when I was 5 years old. So he'll be 40 years sober this side. And I always kind of, I used to label myself the black sheep of the family, right? Which gives me the convenient consequences of behaving in a certain way. But I always burnt the candle at both ends, and I think the writing was on the wall for me. I definitely think my first career kind of catapulted me into that world faster. I came out of university having done a business and IT degree, which I wasn't really interested in, and someone was like, well, Tim, you're good at selling, so why don't you go and sell IT networks? And that, I was young, I wanted to have fun, and so that's what I did, and I made a lot of money and sales in London. London's kind of a high pressured environment, and it's all about selling and making money and going out and drinking and having fun, which I did. But I had an addictive personality, and when all my other mates were kind of knocking it on the head and going home, I was finding another group of friends to continue the party with, and eventually it turned from fun to quite an unpleasant journey for me.
So what was the catalyst to get into rehab? What happened?
Well, I got sacked from 5 jobs in 5 years, which was ironic, really, because I was so convincing in interviews. People never checked my references. And then, the last job, I was there for about 3 months. And then my family were kind of, my friends and family, I think they realized that there was a problem. So they were putting pressure on. And to be honest, I went in really just to get everyone off my back. I knew I had a bit of a problem. I didn't understand how big it was, which is often the case with addiction. But I went into the Priory in London, and I was there for 28 days. And I think then I was like, okay, so this was kind of worse than I thought it was. And so I then made the decision to do more treatment, which is what took me out to Cape Town.
I mean, addiction, people say, who don't know or haven't lived it, that they think you go and you come out, you're cured. You're never cured. It's something that stays with you for the rest of your life. When you actually came out and you'd been off everything, probably say 12 months, how are you feeling compared to what you were like when you went in? Was it a clearness of mind? Was it I'm a little lost, or was it a sense of achievement to yourself?
I think it probably took about 3 or 4 months to fully understand and comprehend how addicted I was. I think it was very easy for me to understand I had a problem with cocaine, but alcohol, not so much.
Yeah.
So I would say it probably took a couple of years really for the dust to settle. But obviously my life got incredibly more nourishing very quickly. I mean, you go from being a drug addict to being clean, and waking up and brushing your teeth, something that I took for granted, and showing up to social events that I never used to show up for, and starting to make money and not having to worry about drawing money out of my bank account, and if there was money that was going to be in there. So things turned around very, very quickly for me.
Awesome. So how did these days you're a very, very well-respected success coach. I mean, you look after high, earning executives all the way through to someone just trying to get up and get their business up and going. How did you fall into being a success coach? Because there's many people out there call themselves that, but they haven't really done anything, and they don't really have any study, and they just say, hi, come to me.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, the coaching market is massive these days, and no disrespect to the coaches out there, but I would definitely always work with a coach that's kind of, lived and walked that life that they're presenting to their clients. And my life looked like this. When I got sober in 2005, I knew I didn't want to go back into sales. It wasn't a good environment. It wasn't really nourishing or fulfilling. I was just kind of making money. And so I thought about becoming a therapist, a fitness trainer, or a teacher. I'd never considered coaching then back in 2005. I don't think coaching was that big in the marketplace then. So I became a fitness trainer, moved back to London in 2007. I was 30 years old. My friends were all getting married, their careers were starting to kind of, reap the rewards. They were buying houses, and I was cleaning fitness equipment at Virgin Active in London, making nothing, borrowing money off my dad. But I knew that I could be a successful fitness trainer, and I knew that I could make a career, and that's what I did. So I ended up building a very successful fitness company. I scaled it within 2 years to making about £20,000 a month net profit. I was working with famous people, and I had 10 trainers working for me. But it was a really interesting place for me because I had lost the reason why I had started my business career, and I'd started chasing money and making money my higher power. And I find that so often entrepreneurs can make that mistake. They become self-employed because they want to create more freedom in their life, and they create that freedom, and then they think, oh, and now I can have more money, and they forget about the freedom and the peace and the joy and the happiness bit. And that's where I got to 2012. That's where I got to, and it was I'll never forget it. It was a warm, sunny day in London. I was walking through Hampstead Heath, and everyone was sitting around, laughing, socializing, having fun. And I was really lost and disconnected and quite lonely, actually. And I thought that was unfair, because on paper I had everything. I had a pretty girlfriend. I had 10 trainers working for me. I was making a ton of money. I was working with royals and presidential families and the Rolling Stones and supermodels, and life looked good, but I was really quite sad. And so I relapsed. I relapsed end of 2012. I relapsed. I was coming up to 8 years clean and sober, and I thought, let me try this again. And it did not. It didn't
end well.
It didn't go well. It did, but that period was not enjoyable. A year and a half of full-on drug addiction, the business gone, everything gone. And what happened then was I got clean again in 2014. So I'll be clean and sober 8 years this August, which is a wonderful thing. But in some respects, I was very lucky to experience that level of adversity through drug addiction, because it really humbled me. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who are in that place that I just described. They are successful. They feel like nothing's particularly wrong, but nothing's particularly right, and they don't know where to go. Right? They feel disconnected, and adversity has this wonderful thing of creating humility, which allows us to then expand into a different area of our life. But you don't have to take drugs in order to get there. I did, and that's what led me into coaching, because I thought, I wanted to be a fitness trainer to be of service to others. But through my journey, through experiencing significant adversity, through being able to go from cleaning fitness equipment to building successful business. I launched an app in London which raised £500,000, which I haven't told you about, but I know, we could probably talk for hours. But I have a proven track record in going from really a spiritual and emotional rock bottom to a place of being very successful. And now I believe inner peace is probably the biggest luxury that we have in this life, and that it's the one that can often be least considered in our careers, and that's a place that I really love to coach people on. So often success means so many different things to so many different people. Society would say success is about the external life. For me, this is an inside job, and when we get that straight, everything else follows in more ways than we can imagine.
I was talking to a client this morning who rang me just to say that his wife had quit her job and taken a job 5 minutes from home for $15,000 less a year, but an hour traveling less a day. And he said, thank you so much. He said, thank you so much for listening, Rob. He said, because you know what? Money is not everything. He said, peace and harmony, rather than being stressed, is worth far more. And it's sometimes when you're coaching someone, you don't really realize the effect you've had on them until they ring you and say something like that to you. I was once told that the person who says they don't need coaching is the person who needs it the most. What would you say to that?
Coaching is a wonderful and expanding growth market, but it's still very much associated with therapy. And typically most people go to therapy because they're in pain, right? But let's look at the sports market. If you're Federer, for example, I love him as a tennis player, but any sports person, they don't wait until they start losing games before they take on a coach or a mindset coach or a performance coach. They take on a coach to win more games. Correct. So that they can perform better at what they do best. So if someone says, I don't need a coach, that sounds like ego talking, and it's something that I relate to, right? I took on a coach 8 months ago. It's the first time I've worked with a coach, and I'm a coach.
Yes.
Right. And now I have built successful businesses, but I got to a place in my career as a coach where I thought, well, I need to buy my own product, right? How can I sell coaching if I don't have a coach in it? So, and my journey with my coach has been, I can't even put words to describe it. Actually, she's asked me to give her a testimonial, which I'm doing this afternoon, but it's just, I think to have someone that can allow you to get out of your own way so that you can get really clear on what you do and just live that life without all this other noise going on. Why wouldn't you employ someone to do that? There are so many different facets to coaching, and there are so many different coaches out there. It's such a glorious, wonderful thing.
Yeah. If you were talking to someone that was thinking about throwing in their corporate job and starting their own business, and they've come to someone like you and gone, help, why would I do this? What would you say to someone who's just about to put their toe in the water and go, I've had enough working for someone else and making someone else enough money? And they'd look at you as their coach and just gone, okay, so, but why should I do it? What do you say to those type of people?
I get a lot of people that come to me and they're in a place where they can't afford to do it, but they also can't afford not to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite difficult to be free and live a life of fulfillment and inner peace when you're being dictated to by someone else. So I know that there are a lot of people out there that are really successful in their jobs and they're quite happy at what they're doing, but they don't get to choose who they work for. They don't get to choose the clients that they have. They don't get to select the types of people that they want to work for. And so running a business is actually not that difficult. People misunderstand that. Making money is not that hard. What's difficult and challenging is doing it from a place of love and authenticity and maintaining those boundaries along the way. So I have someone that's about to start with me and he loves his job, but he doesn't like the clients that he works for. He likes what he does, but not who he does it for. And so all he's doing is he's removing himself from being employed to being in a position to doing the same job, but being able to select the people that he works for. And also he won't have to work as much because now he's getting 100% of the fee rather than a salary. So he gets to spend more time with his family. He gets to reduce the stress and anxiety in his life. I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, true. When someone comes to you and they're asking and they're thinking about what they're going to do, what's more important, going and doing something you love that's not going to make a lot of money, or going and doing something and working for yourself that's going to make you a good amount of money, but it's not your true love?
Well, I would say neither, actually.
Yep.
I would say do both. Do what you love and make lots of money, because you can do both. You can absolutely do both.
Yeah.
I work a lot. I've worked a lot in the past with yoga instructors, and they're an interesting breed because yoga is deeply connected to the spiritual world, and there seems to be this odd perception that if you're in that world, if you're being of service to others, you're in the spiritual realm, you can't charge for it, or you can't make a lot of money. And that's absolutely not true. It's like saying spiritual people are poor, which is not true. So I think we can do both, and I've fallen into the trap. The app that I launched was an Uber model for fitness and wellness professionals, and it was launched to change the industry globally around moving it away from external image to fitness. But as we took on investors and we raised £500,000 in 4 years, I don't even know how we did that. I didn't know how to raise investment in the beginning. I do now. But as we gathered momentum and the business started to make more money and attract more money, the focus moved away from the value of the business to making money, and that's when I checked out.
If you look now when you're coaching someone, what do you call on from your personal experience? Is it the old sales? Is it your journey through addiction? Is it running a fitness, or was it throwing it all in and just saying, right, I'm going to be a coach, and pulling from those experiences?
I think I have to be careful sometimes, because I've been fortunate to hit a real rock bottom with drug addiction. So I know what it's like to rebuild myself from nothing. And not everyone needs to do that or is at that place. So I come from launching businesses from a place of fearlessness. I draw on all of those experiences, but I believe all of us are are really delicious and beautiful human beings, but we've got a bit lost and disconnected along the way.
Yeah.
So typically my coaching process is a 6 to 8 month process, minimum 6 months, and we address power, creation, and growth. And power is really about understanding who you are, like really who you are. You know, what is it that gets you excited? What wakes you up in the morning? And forget about what you want to do or what you want to think you want to do for now. Let's understand who you are.
Do you think,
the essence.
Just interrupt here, when you're talking about power, does that sometimes scare people when they actually find out who they are and they may not like who they've found?
100%. 100%. I think people are more scared of success than they are scared of failure.
Yeah, they do. There is a saying, you'll do more to avoid pain than to experience pleasure.
Yeah. Exactly. And also, if people have been working for someone else, it's likely they've been presenting a different version of themselves at work. And so they've created a persona around that. In fact, some of their work colleagues, they might like that person, but then that person isn't really who they are. So now take them out of that environment and actually get them in touch with who they are. And then all of a sudden there's going to be a disconnect. And so there's a fear there, because you may need to start rebuilding some of your social circles again, and there may be, and there often is, a complete rearrangement of your world in every single area, including romantically, sexually. When you really understand who you are, everything changes, but it just becomes a lot easier.
A lot of actors and stage performers are very much like that. I've had the pleasure of knowing, and I still know quite a few. And on stage, they're a different person. You put them on, doesn't matter where the stage is. You take them off stage. Quite often they're introverts. Quite often they're guarded because they don't feel safe. But on stage, they feel safe because they're in control. You take them out. Now, you're talking about people now that you're helping from in a place of control where they know they're going to get paid. They know what the boss expects. They know the type of people they're dealing with. And they're walking off the stage. They're going into
I love that analogy.
And as you just said, they're looking for the power, which is who they are. When someone just finds out who they are, what's the next step for them when they've walked away from a corporate job of 20 years and they're working with you? They now know, they're confident in who they are and what their beliefs are. Where do they go from there?
Well, now they know what they really want to do and who they want to work with, and then they start to form the creation of their business. And they may already have an idea, but it will become refined. It's like the honeymoon phase. We've all experienced it. You meet someone, you fall in love, or you really fancy them, and you become infatuated, and you walk down the street, and you're in the honeymoon phase, right? You're smiling at strangers. You could meet the meanest person in the day. Maybe they cut you up when you're driving, and you're like, "I love you." Nothing bothers you, right? It's the honeymoon phase of life. I believe we can have that feeling and that sense of peace in relation to our career and our business. When we really get down to that essence of you just know, and you create from there. You actually don't even need to sell anymore, because you just start to become magnetic. You just start to draw people in. I'm a big advocate of meditation and manifestation, and I think that's a deeply important practice. But it just becomes easy because well, this is what I want to do, this is who I want to speak to, and this is the service that I'm offering, whether it's an online business or you're selling a product, but you believe in it, and it nourishes you and it nourishes the people that you're providing it to. And the making money bit then is strategy, and you can read that in a book or buy a course in that, but that's the easy bit.
I once spoke to someone who was having trouble about public speaking, and I teach people to do that, and they had all the words of terrified, scared, I'm bad, on this, on that, and I kept asking them until I found something that they were truly passionate about. I just said to them in conversation, tell me about that. Their whole body changed. Their whole persona, their voice changed. And all of a sudden I couldn't shut them up. And the same thing goes for business. If you find something you truly love, you don't sell. because you just you live it. You know, it's so true in what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, you know, we all have a story. Yeah. And so often I like to get people talking about their story and looking at their journey so far. My partner, Lisa, she's just left the employed world to become a freelance yoga instructor. And, you know, she said to me, Tim, you know, I'm scared, I'm worried, I don't know how it's going to work. And she was a single mum before I met her. She was a single mum, and she upskilled and she got into a new career, and then she got promoted, and then she got headhunted. And, you know, if there's any single mums listening, like, my hat's off to you. Like, it is single working mums. Like, if you're a single working mum, you can do anything. You can do anything, right? And I said to her, look at all the traits and the skills that and the adversity and the way that you've grown along the way, and you're worried about launching a business. Like, you've made it already. You just need to transfer those skills. And I think, like you said, you know, get people to understand and talk about their story and what they like, and then it becomes easier.
So you call yourself a success coach, and I know many people who would just turn around and say to you, so Tim, what's success? How do you answer those people who are a little bit skeptical, haven't had coaching before, and they say, you know, he's just full of, you know what?
You know, I used to call myself a consciousness coach, but people don't understand what that means.
No.
Success isn't quite open, because it really is, it's individual to many people. For me, I use the word freedom a lot, right? And so if I can wake up and genuinely feel excited and happy and content and peaceful about my life in all areas of my life, then I'm successful.
And successful. Yeah.
I also love money, right? Let's not forget that.
Nothing wrong with that.
I love it. But in my business, I do not compromise my I guess my freedom code, you know, my moral code for money. And that's the mistake I've made in the past. I have worked and taken on clients, not in this business, but in my fitness business, for the wrong reasons, because they were famous or rich, or they were going to pay me a lot of money. I have not worked with clients because I didn't feel that there was a fit. You know, I believe I was put on this earth to serve people. I believe I went through what I went through to understand what that looks like, but how to get out of it and how to create freedom. And that's what I want to give to people. But in order for me to be able to show up professionally as their coach, I need to be 100% on board, because energy is very important. So for me, success is an individual understanding of what their needs are. What do they need from life? What does that look like? And quite possibly, blue sky is the limit. What's possible? You know, what do you really want? Not what do you think you can have, or what do you think you deserve?
We're starting to come out of COVID, fingers crossed, now around the world. Some areas quicker than others. I mean, we're living with it. It's never going to be anything. If you're talking to somebody now, and it's like been a great reset around the world. People have decided, you know what, I'm not working 6 days a week in the office anymore. I'm working 3 and 2 from home. I'm going home and turning my laptop off at 5:30 rather than 7:30. What do you say to people now when they're looking for something different? They're looking and they come to you, how do we reset? How do we get going again? So we still make the same amount of money, but we have a much better quality of life.
You know, our souls are talking to us all the time. Our intuitions are talking to us all the time, but often we ignore that voice. And my suggestion would be, get a journal or get your notes up in your phone and start writing down all those thoughts that come into your head. You know, those 30-second thoughts of I should do this or I should do that. start writing them down and start paying attention to that, because that is your soul talking to you, saying you need to do this, you deserve to do this, you know. And going back to, you know, the transition from being employed to self-employed and becoming an entrepreneur and growing a business, I really think that that allows you to create way more freedom and peace in your life, and you're also able to make a lot more money than you're on, if that's what you want to have, you know.
If someone said to you now, right, I've started my business, I'm going to rock in the next 2 years, what would be your 3 best pieces of advice based on your history, based on where you've come from? You've got an amazing amount of drive, which is fueled by adversity. I mean, let's be honest about it. You've been there, done that. You've been to the low, you've been to the high. You've seen successful people. There's something different amongst all those people. What would you say to someone, just concentrate on 3 things in the next 12 months and you're going to set yourself up for the best chance you've got?
I mean, the first thing I'm going to say is get a coach. And I'm not talking about work.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You know, I'm saying, like, get a coach. Like, if you really want to be successful, the best people in the world, they have coaches, spiritual mentors, energy healers. They invest in their business. So that would be the first thing. Invest significantly in your business. The other 2 elements, which I think are overlooked and very important, is meditation and manifestation.
Yep.
So waking up, setting your intentions for your day, you know, and I forget this sometimes, and I've recommitted to this recently. So myself and my partner, we get up at 5:30. We do that because we have a child and we need to get up a bit before she wakes up so that we can meditate for half an hour. That didn't work out this morning, so one of us got to meditate. And if meditation is too far of a stretch, at least set your intentions. You know, today, how do I want to show up in this world, as, you know, as a human, as a business owner, and what are my intentions today? And then at the end of the day, review that, write down, how's that going? And it just keeps track of what that's doing. And then the third element would be manifestation. Really feel into, where do you want to be? Blue sky's the limit. Where do you want to be? You know, one of my intentions is to do a TED talk, right? And so I manifest that. I think about it. I imagine walking on stage, my family are in the crowd, maybe you're there as well. And I feel proud to be on stage, not from an ego perspective, but just because I really love talking about what I talk about, what I believe in it. And I think people need to hear it. And so I feel the sensations of it. And manifestation is deeply, deeply important. It sets our intentions for what do we deserve to have in this world.
Is there any one of your past clients that you would love to sit down and actually just have a meal with and chat to?
All of them. All of them. You know, I believe in the ripple effect of coaching. So my coaching doesn't just affect my clients, but it affects their friends, their families. You know, I get messages I did a testimonial with my client's wife because I wanted to hear what happens, you know, how do the wives feel about, or the partners feel about the coaching experience. And I got a message from a client who I finished working with a year ago. He sent me a message yesterday or the day before saying he's got engaged. His career is way more successful. He was actually having a problem with drugs, and he was just a bit lost. He wasn't an addict, but he was lost. There's a baby on the way, and he just wanted to say thank you. So, I mean, I love what I do. I love being able to facilitate change in someone's life. It's just such a lovely thing.
Is there anyone famous around the world that you would love to sit down with, just one person, and just share a lovely meal with and go, I want to pick your brains?
Donald Trump.
I agree. I think he would be an amazing man.
Donald Trump. I don't particularly like what he does, but I do think he's probably one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. I mean, he woke up one day and thought, I think I'll be the president of America, right? And who thinks that, right? And he did it. Right? I don't agree with a lot of his policies or we won't get into politics. You told me about that, but I mean, imagine just waking up and going, I wonder if I can become president of America, and then doing it. I'd love to ask him what was,
Barack Obama goaded him.
What was his, yeah.
Barack Obama said to him, had a go at him once at a function, and he wasn't running. And he went, well, you know what? Now I am.
Exactly. It's amazing. It is amazing because, if you'd have been a betting man, you'd have been from the beginning, no way. But he did it. I'd love to know how.
I think those type of people, there's a public persona, there's a private persona. I've actually seen an interview with Donald Trump that wasn't public. It was for a company interview. And they say the same about Barack Obama. It doesn't. A lot of people, they've got two personas, as we already spoke about. And I said to my wife, if people had seen that Donald Trump, he never ever would have lost an election because it was a different person. It wasn't the one, just like Obama. Obama, away from a script, isn't that good a talker. But when he's reading off a script and the way he can pronounce and orate, he's brilliant. So you see that and you go, wow, one of these days the politicians around the world will work out if they were just themselves. People may actually like them, So it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you all the way there from Cape Town. How do people get in touch with you if they want to, say g'day, reach out to you, Tim?
So my website is timhayes.coach. My Instagram is timhayes.coach. You can contact me there. I'm actually about to launch a workshop over the next coming weeks, really just to kind of establish how you can move from getting unstuck in your career. So that's exciting. But yeah, people can just follow me and see what they like.
Mate, it's been beautiful. Anyone listening, I will put all the links up in the show notes when they come through. I hope you've enjoyed the interview, mate. It's been fantastic talking to you.
Thank you so much.
And as we say at the end of all of our interviews, have a groovy day.